It's skills that make you rich, not money. But if you don't have the skills or the mindset, you're poor.
From your perspective, what has been the toughest battle that you fought on the journey of achieving financial freedom?
If you want to be rich and happy, don't go to school. Because schools teach you things to be not successful. And the biggest one is they punish you for making mistakes. And most school teachers are poor because they're afraid of making mistakes. We have to get free of our indoctrination into servitude and slavery. Go to school, get a job, work hard. Don't make mistakes. Save money. Savers are losers. Because the price of gold's going up, it doesn't mean gold's going up, it means the dollar's coming down. Real estate is going up because the dollar's coming down. And they don't tell you that in school. And so when markets crash is when I get rich. So my whole practice since I was a kid, practicing making money out of nothing. And the reason so many people are afraid of quitting their jobs and becoming free is they don't have the skills. The number one skill of an entrepreneur is can you sell? And when you can do that, money flows in. It's skills that make you rich, not money. But if you don't have the skills or the mindset, you're poor.
Welcome to the very first episode of Relentless, the podcast about exploring what it takes to create a life of true freedom. Today's episode is titled The Price of Freedom, and it couldn't be more fitting for my first guest, Robert Kiyosaki. Robert's book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, was a lifeline for me as a teenager. It gave me hope when I felt lost, and now I have the honor of sitting down with the man who not only shaped my financial journey, but also helped me realize that true freedom comes at a price, something I know all too well from my own experiences. Robert, welcome to Relentless. It's my honor to have you here.
Well, congratulations. It's my honor to be on your premiere show.
Thank you so much. So the title of this episode is The Price of Freedom, and I know you and I talk a lot about that, and everything has a price. So for you, Robert, freedom has been a defining theme from financial freedom, personal freedom, and the freedom to just think differently. Does going to school teach you to be free, in your opinion, or does it teach you to be a slave to job security, money, and the stock market?
Well, in my opinion, school teaches you slavery. And that was the story of Rich Dad, Poor Dad. You know, my poor dad was my real father. Very good man for Japanese, about 6'4" tall, and PhD, Stanford, Northwestern, University of Chicago. But he died a poor man. And he always thought he went back to school. One reason he got a PhD was because he thought if he went back to school, got his master's, then get his PhD, he would make more money and he'd be free. And it didn't, because money doesn't more money doesn't make you free. And my rich dad's my best friend's father, man, never went to school. And he started teaching me about money at the age of 10. And as you know, a school teaches us nothing. So I kept asking my poor dad, I said, when's school going to teach us about money? And he says, go ask your best friend's father, which was Rich Dad. And so that's what I did. And it changed my whole life because he simply taught me about money playing Monopoly. You know, I said, why are we playing Monopoly? I had to work for free. He says, if I pay you, you think like an employee. You work for free. Entrepreneurs work for free. It was completely rattling my brain as a 10-year-old because my dad was always get a high-paying job, save money. My rich dad says they'll never get you freedom. So we played Monopoly, and we all know the formula for freedom in that game is 4 greenhouses, 1031 tax deferred exchange. So you never pay taxes and you get income. And so I'm 10 years old looking at this game, and I asked him, Richard, is this what you do? He says, I play Monopoly in real life. And I'd go home, and poor dad says, what have you been doing? So I've been playing Monopoly. He says, don't waste your time. So that's the parallels where they're running on parallel tracks. Both were good men. They're tough sons of bitches. Scolded me a lot because I needed to be scolded. I was a surfer kid growing up in Hawaii. But your neural pathways, your brain needs to change for you to change. And our schools, when they program you to go to school, get a job, work hard, save money, get out of debt, and invest for the long term in the stock market in a 401k or IRA, worst financial advice possible. That's not freedom, that's slavery. You're a slave to the job. You're a slave to taxes. You're a slave to the stock market, and you're a slave to the bank.
It is for sure. And I'm the same way. I remember I read your book when I was about, I think I was 12 years old, 12 to 13 years old. And it just immediately ingrained in my head, like, I need to be an entrepreneur. I need to mind my own business. I need to buy real estate assets that pay me in my sleep and provide cash flow. And I still had the fear, like the poor dad fear of go to college, get a job, get a degree, go do these things. And I went down that path and I did that. And I remember that very first check, I was, 60 hours a week working. The first check, I had half of it after 401k, taxes, insurance, all of that crap. And I knew so quickly, I was like, this is slavery. And no matter, and I was an engineer getting paid a high job. Yeah. And I was like, no matter how hard I work, I will never be free if I am living here in corporate America. And I use that lesson to learn how to run a business. I use that lesson, a real world lesson, to learn how to run a large $1 billion company. But ultimately I got out of that as soon as I could and followed your advice. And I never looked back.
Yeah. It's not for everybody, but for a lot of people, the saying I had growing up was, everybody wants to go to heaven, but nobody wants to die. And another saying is that the old Irish proverb goes, if I knew where I was going to die, I wouldn't go there. And so I always know I'm going to die in school because my spirit was killed in school. I hated being locked up and told to go for security and for all that other stuff they teach you at school. I just wanted to be free. I didn't want to die. And then about 2 years ago, I was asked to teach at Arizona State University. And I teach capitalism. Donald Trump and I teach capitalism. And our schools teach Marxism, but they don't know that. So that's saying everybody wants to go to heaven, but nobody wants to die. And the other Irish proverb, if I knew I was going to die, I wouldn't go there. So I said, I'm never going back to school again. I mean, I did graduate. I went to military school, one of the 5 academies: Naval Academy, Merchant Marine Academy, Air Force, Army, and Coast Guard Academy. And I graduated with a degree plus a commission. And I joined the U.S. Marine Corps, and I flew in Vietnam the helicopter gunship because I was fighting for our freedom. And when you kill people for freedom, your life changes. And I felt for the Vietnamese, they were fighting for the same thing, but they're trying to kill me and I was trying to kill them, but I killed a lot of them. And I said, why are we doing this? So that thing about freedom and all that, and I was fighting for freedom, but I don't know if you guys know this, but the NVA, North Vietnamese Army, crossed a demilitarized zone. And the first battle was the Battle of Quang Tri, which is a major city. And that's the battle I was aircraft, we flew off an aircraft carrier and we fought there. And the fight for freedom stuck in my head. If we didn't fight hard enough, we were going to lose. And we didn't fight hard enough. And the North Vietnamese just ran south. They just ran over us. We had one aircraft go down. It had 60 South Vietnamese. South Vietnamese are smaller than Americans,
Yeah.
So South Vietnamese Marines on it. That thing just caught fire and burned. I'm going, wow. They paid the ultimate price. And as you may know, most people don't know this, but the North Vietnamese kept going south until we lost everything in the South Vietnam. So the worst part about it is I come home, I land at Norton Air Force Base, and the aircraft taxiing up is full of young Marines and soldiers and stuff like this. We're all returning home. And the captain comes on and says, gentlemen, prepare yourself. Change into civilian clothes immediately. I said, why? He says, change immediately. So we run into the military terminal just north of San Francisco. We jump into civilian clothes. I open the door and I get hit with a rotten egg. It was all the hippies, the love child guys. Love, happiness. And you baby killer and all this. And they're hitting us with eggs and spitting on us and going, I fought for this. That's what I want you to know. That's the freedom of speech. And so as we're exiting, get hit with eggs and spit on and called names. And that's the freedom we fought for. And it's hard for people to understand that, you know what I mean? And then today, my good friends Donald Trump, he and I wrote 2 books together, and they're attacking him like crazy, the same hippies. So I jokingly say, I don't care if you're Republican or Democrat, it's a free country. Or you don't vote at all. I mean, it's up to you. But anyway, is that when I was looking at this crowd of all these hippies and, these long guys with long hair and, with flour in their hair and all this stuff, and they're spitting on me. I'm going, I shot the wrong people. That's the thought that crossed my mind. I would never do that, but we fought for that freedom. If people can understand that, the price of freedom. I lost so many friends in Vietnam, and we come home and these guys are spitting on us, hitting us with eggs, rotten eggs. That's the price of freedom. We fought for it. People don't know what we went through.
Yeah, I know. I have no idea.
Yeah, and this guy who was running for vice president with Kamala Harris, again, I don't care who you vote for. I mean, I do care, but I'm not saying one's better than the other. This guy Walz, the vice president, running for vice president, he missed his movement into Iran. Guy's a coward. You don't leave. He was a sergeant major. You don't leave your troops behind like that. He didn't go into battle, but he claims he did. And he's running for vice president with Kamala. And meanwhile, J.D. Vance is a Marine. And you can tell the difference between Army and Marine. Marines are tight as hell. So that's the kind of freedom I fought for. So they can spit on me, they can sit up there and lie, cheat, and steal, but that's freedom.
I can't even imagine.
No. And I see guys my age, I say, where were you during Vietnam? Oh, well, I had a student deferment, I had kids, and all. They all song and danced me, but they know they didn't serve.
Yeah.
So when people say, thank you for serving, I said, well, tell that son of a bitch he should have served.
Yeah.
He's a coward. He's one of those hippies, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, we talk a lot about that. Yeah. That's a different conversation for a different day.
Yeah, man, it's hot for guys who are being spit on and hit with eggs. It's tough.
Oh, my God.
So the price of freedom is high. That's why I'm, honored to be a part of your show right now.
Thank you, Robert. This has been a dream of mine since I was a long time ago. So I am the one with the honor. But I do want to talk about kind of the mental and emotional journey. And I know financial success comes with a lot of mental and emotional challenges. So from your perspective, what has been the toughest battle that you fought on the journey of achieving financial freedom, and how did you overcome that?
Well, the hardest part, the reason my very first book was called If You Want to Be Rich and Happy, Don't Go to School. Because schools teach you things to be not successful. And the biggest one is they punish you for making mistakes. Well, a baby cannot learn to walk unless a baby falls down. Or you can't ride a bicycle without falling off. But if a kid went to school to learn how to walk, a baby, they'd never walk because they'd punish it. Oh, you fell. Bad boy. Bad kid. We fall off your bike. Bad. And most school teachers are poor because they're afraid of making mistakes. Yeah, I'm not really religious, but it seems to me that God created us to learn by making mistakes. But our schools punish you for making mistakes. The second big mistake schools do is if you cooperate, it's called cheating. And when I was in school, because I was a dumb high school, dumbass surfer boy and football player, I always sat next to the smartest girl in the class. So I could get the answers off her test, So the teacher says, you're cheating. And I said, I'm cooperating.
I love that.
But it's just different points of view, different people.
That was me. I was the smart girl in the class and people were cooperating with me all the time.
Of course. I'm sure for other reasons too. But anyway.
Yeah, probably.
But that's what I mean by we have to get free of our indoctrination into servitude and slavery. Go to school, get a job, work hard. Don't make mistakes. Save money. Why would you save money? We're printing $1 trillion every 100 days. And then, save money. You're so smart. Well, if you're everyone wants to put it, savers are losers. Because the price of gold's going up. It doesn't mean gold's going up, it means the dollar's coming down.
Mm-hmm.
Real estate is going up because the dollar's coming down. And they don't tell you that in school.
Mm-mm.
So that's why I'd recommend for most young men, especially join the Marine Corps and get toughened up, because a lot of these guys are TikTok dancers today. I mean, I've never seen so many effeminate men,
I know.
young boys.
Yeah, I don't understand it. And I've been, you know me very well, and I've been on this journey of kind of masculinity and femininity and understanding trauma and healing and why we are the way we are and what's going on in the world. But it's an interesting time, and it's a really scary time, and things are just not very good out there right now. So.
Well, actually, for me, they're really good. Because all markets go up, all markets come down. And so when markets crash is when I get rich. Yep. When the last real estate market crashed, everything went on sale. So I bought some of the best real estate in the world in Arizona here for pennies on a dollar. And other people will say, oh, the economy's crashed. Well, there's always three sides to a coin: heads, tails, and the edge. So when the market crashed, most people without financial education run and hide. And like me, because I'm a capitalist, I come out and I say, thank God, I borrowed $20 million and I bought the best real estate in the world for pennies. That time is coming again.
Yeah.
We're close.
I know. We're waiting for it. And if you position yourself right and have cash at the right time and don't have fear. I love that quote when it says, be greedy when others are fearful, and fearful when others are greedy.
If I could add another thought to you, you don't need cash. You see the
debt.
Well, it's called an infinite return. Infinite returns when you make money with nothing. So my whole practice since I was a kid, practicing making money out of nothing. And that's what entrepreneurs do.
Right.
We don't need a paycheck. We don't need a bank. But my first real estate deal I bought was a 1-bedroom condominium on the island of Maui, beachfront. And it was in foreclosure. And I negotiated with the seller, and I just gave him a credit card and bought it. So it was 100% debt.
That's amazing.
So I got $25, and my return was infinite because I had no cash in there.
Yeah. And you are the king of debt and using good debt, right? There's good debt and bad debt. And most people in America don't even know the difference between good debt and bad debt. But debt is your friend. And the reason why we can build so much in America is because we have the ability to use other people's money to leverage and make a return on a leveraged amount. And I went to Jamaica one time, and you see all these like half-built houses everywhere. And I asked my tour guide, I was like, why are these houses half-built? He goes, well, we can't get loans here. So we have to pay cash, go build a little bit of the house, go work, save up more cash, build a little more of the house. And that's the reason that the country can't build wealth, because it's very difficult to build wealth if you're not utilizing good debt.
Well, it's because our education system is poor,
and
they're poor people.
Yeah.
It's really sad, because you don't need money. The number one thing when I was getting out of the Marine Corps in 1974, my poor dad said, go fly for the airlines. And I went, I've just been flying in combat. I've been flying for 6 years. I said, I don't want to fly any longer. So I'd be an employee for the airlines. And my rich dad said, what do you want to do? I said, I want to be an entrepreneur. And I said, what do you have to do? He says, well, you have to acquire the skills of an entrepreneur. And the reason so many people are afraid of quitting their jobs and becoming free is they don't have the skills. The number one skill of an entrepreneur is, can you sell? And because I learned how to sell, I got a job with Xerox, not because I wanted to sell copiers, but Xerox had great sales training. And then after I came number one with my best friend in sales at Xerox in Honolulu, next thing my rich dad says, next thing I'll learn is public speaking. So then I studied with master public speakers. And when you can do that, money flows in. It's skills that make you rich, not money. But if you don't have the skills or the mindset, you're poor.
Yeah.
I want job security, steady paycheck, 401k, programmed.
I know. And it's funny because I'll post TikToks and reels and different content. And people always comment because I say I bought my first property at 18 years old following what you had taught me. And I had no money. I saved up some babysitting money, like $800 to get my real estate license. And I held an open house for free that someone else had listed. And I was able to make over $100,000 that summer. And that was able to get me out of, poverty basically and start my journey. And so people will comment on my post saying, oh, you must have been given daddy's money or you must have had parents help or anything like that. And they're so brainwashed by the system that they don't even believe that it's possible. And I agree, like sales, my advice to anyone starting today would be become good at sales. Like you just said, become good at sales and speaking and people skills, right? And then you can go sell anything and make huge commissions and then invest that money into passive income like you've taught.
Yeah, it's, beyond sales is overcoming the fear of rejection.
Mm-hmm.
So that when we had to sell, we generally took 100 rejections to get one sale. And that was tough for me. I'm a very shy person. And then to stand in front of a crowd and speak was even worse. Mm-hmm. So the freedom comes from facing your fears, going through them. But most people would rather have security.
Yeah. Everything great is on the other side.
Yeah, and that's why I want to commend you. One of the things I found remarkable about you is your commitment to personal development. And I was just reading this book on philosophy, and it says human beings are the only creature out there that understand personal development. But as you know and I know, very few people pursue it. Mm-hmm. They have all these seminars and things you go to. I went to seminars, I teach them, I'm in them, I'm gone all the time studying. And he told me you studied with Joe Polish. I'm going, man, that guy's a great teacher. Joe's one of the big innovators and motivators and forces of power here in Phoenix. So you're studying with him. And the next time I call you, you're in Las Vegas studying something else. That's why you're ahead. Everybody wants to go to heaven, but nobody wants to go to die. Nobody wants to die. What do you mean go to a seminar? That's 3 days, man. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? What do you mean? I got to pay $500 for a seminar, whatever it is. They don't want to die. They hang on to what they know and avoid personal development. So humans are the only creature that understands personal development because we want to get better. Well, it's only about 10% of the people.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it took me a while to really start investing in myself. And of course, it comes with success, right? You need some money to be able to take the trips and go there. But you can start so simple, like online courses for a few $100s. And then you make a little bit more money, you learn, you grow, and then you upgrade to the $1,000 seminar. And it's been absolutely life-changing to me. And I was able to have the honor of meeting you and through Joe Polish, through that mastermind. And so I will be seminars, masterminds, personal development, reading. Like I'm a junkie for growth every single day in every area of my life. And I don't understand how people can just settle. Like I feel if we're either growing or we're dying.
Well, they want to go to heaven, but they're not willing to die.
Right.
That's the ego. Mm-hmm. I meet so many highly educated poor people. They know all the answers. Mm-hmm. And with Joe Polish, man, he is really good, great teacher. So you're always seeking better teachers. And the reason most school teachers are broke is because they don't do any public personal development. Mm. They have a college degree, but what's that worth? Nothing. If you can't sell, you're nothing. If you can't public speak, you're nothing. So I just got back from Korea 2 days ago, 1,000 people, and they're all yelling and screaming. They love it. They love learning. I have a cash flow board game that they play. And the reason I play I created the cash flow board game was so people could teach people about finance. And it was done 27 years ago. Yeah. And now we have 1,000 people in Korea, 1,000 in Japan, 1,000 in South Africa, and I'm flying to Dubai in 2 weeks to teach there. I want to change the world via a board game and bypass that school system.
Yeah.
As Maria Montessori said, the great Montessori school system, what the hand does, the mind remembers. So they sit there playing this cash flow board game for 3 hours, and their hands are doing all the work, but their brain is changing. And the reason people don't change is because they just listen to lecture. You can't fly a helicopter with lecture. You can't be Tiger Woods with lecture. You can't be successful without failing. But that's what our schools are teaching. That's why school teachers are generally Marxist. They don't like the rich. So they're jealous. I mean, it's just human, like they're just jealous.
Yeah. And I love, like, the whole thing about failing is I've failed countless times and I will continue to fail countless times. And that's where I've learned absolutely everything. Like you said, all your lessons, and people are so afraid of failing. But it's necessary. And that's how every time I fail, I 10x after that failure, and then I fail again.
If you learn from your mistake, you 10x.
Yep.
What happens for a lot of people, because you're very young, you'll see them, they failed and they go into their shell, never come back out again.
Mm-hmm.
So if you fail, take a seminar or YouTube or something, stand back up, find new friends and move on.
Yeah. Really analyze the lessons learned and grow from them, not just.
My biggest problem was I chose the wrong partner in the deal, And when your partners screw you, it's life-changing. I remember my rich dad, I took my two friends, my new partners, John and Stan. I drove to Rich Dad's office. He lived in a big office in Waikiki Beach. And I walked in with Stan and John, and Rich Dad took one look at him. And he told the two guys, get the F out of here. He closed the door, and Rich Dad started to yell at me. He says, you can't spot a crook. Because those guys are crooks. Can't you see it? I didn't want to listen to Rich Dad. What do you mean they're crooks? They're nice, my friends. They're nice guys. We have a lot of fun together. He says, they're crooks. I didn't listen to him. Sure enough.
Yeah.
They stole the money.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I took a gold mine public on Toronto Stock Exchange in China. And my rich dad says, stay out of China. They're crooks. And so I took this company public in Dalian on the Toronto Stock Exchange. We raised $27 million. As soon as we struck gold, the Chinese said, thank you very much. So that taught me another lesson. It's called country risk. Don't do business where they don't respect the rule of law. So that's why I'm in Japan and South Korea and America and England. They respect the rule of law, same as Australia and New Zealand. But so many opportunities, you should go to India, or you should go to China. What's the rule of law? And if a lot of countries don't respect the laws. It's happening here because they want to defund the police and all those goofy things, We're turning Marxist in America, unfortunately.
It's scary.
Yeah. So that's why we fight back. And the reason I say play the cash flow board game is lecture is not going to change your mind. That's like I said, how do I learn to play golf? Well, buy a golf club.
Right.
Go out there, hit some bad balls,
Yep.
Play. I'm sure Tiger Woods has hit more bad golf shots than I ever will. Millions, probably. But that's why he's successful. Everybody wants to go to heaven, but nobody wants to die. I just want to be the PGA champion. Well, buy some golf clubs. Oh, no. You have to practice. Oh, no. I want to go eat some chicken wings, Everybody wants to go to heaven. Nobody wants to die.
There's shouldn't be anything closer to the truth than that, Robert.
Well, it's called sacrifice.
Yeah.
Sometimes you let things,
Everything has a price. What price are you willing to pay?
That's correct.
Yeah.
And it's been expensive for me. I've had partner problems, generally attorney problems, most of all. Attorneys are the biggest crooks because they think they're smarter than you. And they can read better than I flunked out of high school twice because I can't write. And it's ironic that my book has been on the bestseller list for 27 years. I can't write. I can sell.
Yeah.
I'm a best-selling author. I'm not a best-writing author. And my book, Rich Dad Poor Dad, was turned down by the publishers in New York saying, you think you know about money? This is not money. You don't like 401ks and you don't like the stock market? I said, if you like it, you like it. I don't like them. You don't know what you're talking about. And Rich Dad Poor Dad is 27 years later, still #1 internationally. But all the intellectuals in the publishing houses turned it down. That's how stupid they are.
Yeah.
I mean, with money.
With money. Yeah, I know. And they don't teach you this stuff in school, and that's why
No.
one of my missions is to have a foundation where we teach what you teach to children, because they're not going to get anywhere from the school system. And that's actually a good segue into the future of financial education. So looking ahead into the future and future generations, what do you see as the future of financial education? Like with the world changing so rapidly, how do you think people should be preparing themselves and their children for what's coming next?
Well, you have to look at the word education. Education comes from the Greek word educe, to draw out. Unfortunately, what schools do is they induce. They induce you to become an employee, get job security. The reason I create the cash flow board game, again, is because the brain, very complex system. And I was watching Carrie Lake last night, running for Senate against Gallego. And she's a radio person. So she just spoke. And communication is mental, emotional, physical, spiritual. So the trouble with Carrie, and she won the debate against Gallego, which is not hard to do, but she just used words. When I was growing up, we had guys like President John Kennedy, and he used his whole body to go, ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country. And there was Martin Luther King. He says, I've been through the promised land. And they use emotional tone. But Carrie and Ruben are monotone. So when I'm on stage, and like in Korea, I'm flipping them the bird. I'm doing all the, everything rude possible. And they love it. They have a good time. I trashed the Chinese, and there was like 100 Chinese in the room from China. And I thought they were going to hate me. And they come running up to me and saying, oh, thank you. We hate China too. I said, oh, good. But you never know,
Yeah.
because the word is responsibility. Let me say it again, is responsibility. So if you're a speaker, do you have the ability to get your response? And so I show you some of those videos. People are cheering and screaming. Yeah. The stage gets flooded, 1,000 Koreans coming to shake my hand. But it's because I touched your soul, spiritual.
You do. And
yeah.
I
curse and swear like a dog, so
yeah.
I don't mind it.
Yeah, me too. But yeah, no, I see. You go anywhere and hundreds of people line up because you've changed millions and millions and millions of lives, and you will continue to forever. And your legacy is just the lessons taught. You are so talented in so many ways, and you have an amazing ability to take what can seem like complicated things and can be complicated to implement and make them so simple to understand. Yeah. And it's just a gift that it'll change. You've changed the world and will forever. So thank you. Yeah.
And it's like my mission, because I was a Marine, the mission of the United States Marine was to travel to faraway places, meet nice people, and shoot them. Very clear. I'm only kidding.
Yeah.
Marines are tough. Well, the guy's tougher, I think, with the Navy SEALs. Tremendous respect for them. But anyway, like with people, do they have the skills? Can they sell, and can they public speak? So when I realized that, the fear of public speaking is a fear greater than death. Once again, everybody wants to go to heaven. Nobody wants to die. So I understand. I'm Japanese. I'm very shy. I had to learn to be a banana. A banana is yellow on the outside, white on the inside, and speak like an American. And the Asians love it. But all over the world. I was coming off the plane in Paris, and the customs guys wanted my autograph in Paris. But that's the power of a book. I'm a best-selling author, not a best writing author. Yeah. And that's, and that's why my rich dad says what makes you rich are skills, not money. And do you have the guts to get those skills? It's like Donald Trump and I wrote 2 books together before he was president. We're the only 2 guys that recommend network marketing. Like, join network marketing. I go, why? So you can overcome the fear of rejection. If you cannot handle rejection, you won't get anywhere. So like in Xerox, where I taught, it's 100 sales call to make one sale.
Yep.
So you got there, you knock on doors and say, did 10 today. So well, I got another 90 to go.
Yeah. I sold timeshare in Hawaii.
Oh, good for
Talk
you.
about rejection.
Rejection, yeah.
Oh my gosh.
It's character building.
It's amazing. It was the best sales training I could have ever had.
That's good. Yeah, I'm glad you did that. That's why, like I say, you have Joe Polish and all this. You're getting the skills, and you want the best teacher. Joe's great. Timeshare is real life. I don't think I could do it.
Yeah.
I choked the bastards who said no. Salesmanship begins when the customer says no, but just don't choke them.
Yeah, it was wild, and it's funny because I actually sold my very first tour before I even finished training. We were just experimenting, and they gave me the worst tour possible, like the people won't buy. They're kind of stereotyped.
Where was this?
Maui at the Westin Nanea.
And what were you selling?
The timeshare at the Nanea. Their new condos, like 2 and 3 bedroom. It was like $125,000 to $350,000, and we had an hour presentation to get them to pull out their car.
Timeshare.
Yeah. Yeah, it was high ticket sales and very quick relationship building, and it was the best.
It's skills.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
It's personal development.
Yeah.
Just because somebody says no, it doesn't mean you failed.
Mm-mm.
Right.
Yeah, and if you look at, for instance, sales like that, the way I thought about it differently to help with the rejection was, I know I'm going to make $100,000 commission every, let's call it 200 people I tour, right? Then I just do the math. I'm like, okay, every handshake makes me this much money,
Correct.
Regardless if it's a no or a yes.
Correct.
And that way I could mentally handle the rejection easier and know it was just a part of the process. It was part of the price.
Well, that's the thing I commend about you, is that you respect education and experience. If you go to traditional school, you memorize and don't make mistakes. Yeah. That's why so many people are trapped. Mm-hmm. I'm not making any mistakes. I must be successful. No, you're broke.
Right. I don't use anything I learned from college, for sure. I went to engineering school, and I don't even remember how to do a third dimensional calculus equation. And you don't need to. Now with AI, information is cheap, right? It's actually being able to sell, to communicate, to influence, responsibility, as you say, because now the engineers, software engineers, and all the people that used to be paid for information, things are changing now, and that's going to shift.
Yeah. So anyway, you've got it. That's why you're successful. Like one of the other things I was taught was that when I was in Sunday school, my Sunday school teacher said, "Why were the 3 wise men wise?" So I raised my hand. I'm 7 years old. She says, "Because they were rich." And she goes, in school, in church, the love of money is the root of all evil.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
She goes, "That's not it. Why do you say they were rich?" I said, "Well, one came with frankincense, one came with gold, one came with myrrh. They had to be rich." She goes, that doesn't make them wise. I said, "So what's the answer?" She says, "Why were the 3 wise men wise?" She says, "They sought the best teacher." I'm not plugging religion, but Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
And so what you did with Joe Polish was to seek the best teacher. And a lot of people just get the teacher that they're dealt.
Yeah. And you too are the best teacher.
Well, I put it into a game. The purpose of the game is to bypass schools so people can teach people. And now with YouTube, I can go straight in and teach via YouTube. I want to bypass. Education's important if you're going to be a doctor, lawyer, attorney. That.
Right.
But they don't teach anything about money. Mm-hmm. So you want to be a doctor, you got to go to med school. Yeah. Be a lawyer, go to law school. Be an engineer, go to engineering school. Mm-hmm. But how do you learn about money? Because a teacher cannot teach it because they're poor.
Well, thank you, Robert. Thank you so much for being here today and for sharing your wisdom and challenges and insights and lessons with everybody. And thank you for being a part of my life and my journey as well.
Well, it's my honor to be part of your journey also. And congratulations. And I feel honored to be the premier of the premier.
Thank you.
Thank you.